All right, we're going to get started, everybody, so everybody could take their seats. There's good atmosphere in here. That's awesome. Thank you. Everybody could grab their chairs so we can get started. Welcome to Tuesday night. Let's give God a hand for getting us all in the building safe and sound. We're going to open up in prayer, as we always do. Thank you for coming to the Life Recovery meeting tonight, and we're going to open up in prayer. So just take a moment, take a deep breath for the opening prayer.
Dear Jesus, thank you for this beautiful day and this opportunity to gather together to learn more about you. I just pray that you open our hearts and minds to the teaching you have for us tonight. I pray for the still suffering addict that they find us or a place like us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Let's give Stace a hand. As always, I'm grateful that you're in the building tonight. Thank you for coming out. It's a beautiful night, and even on beautiful nights, we know we need to be here, so I'm grateful that you're here. But I also want to welcome the live stream audience that comes and tunes in for us on a weekly basis every Tuesday night. Let's give them a hand, people that are watching on live stream. As I say every time I'm up here, there's over 1,000 people that check that thing out between Tuesdays and Sunday nights. It's a real blessing for us, and we're grateful that they're here. So grateful to the sound team for getting everything ready. Let's give the sound team a hand, this audio visual, whatever you call it. We can do better than that. Come on. All right. Now, my favorite part, I'd like to welcome our first-time guests tonight. And what I mean by guests, we do mean family members. So if you are here tonight on Tuesday night for the very first time in the house, I'm going to ask you to stand so we can recognize you. Anybody here for the first time? Awesome. Thank you. We are grateful. We are grateful that you came, and we would continue to hope that you will come back and bring somebody with you next time, so that would be sweet. That would be good. Couple of announcements before we get rolling. I was just handed something from Justin. Where's Justin? Is he back there? Come over here. Stand up so they can see you. All the way up here. Let's give Justin a hand. He didn't know he was doing this. So that's Justin. Come here, Justin. I'm going to let you do it.
Thanks, Doug. So real quickly, we are having a golf tournament fundraise for Serenity Village on Saturday, October 25th. It's going to be right in Golden Valley, locally at the Brookview Golf Course. It's at 1 p.m. and tonight only. If you register, it's $125, but you get one free if you register tonight right after the meeting. So thank you.
All right, thanks, buddy. So if I think I heard right, what do they call that, Tim? A BOGO? All right. Buy one, what? Buy one, get one, $125. Bring somebody, sign up in the back in the foyer afterwards. See Justin, he was just here. It's an awesome time. It's really a fun day. We've done it before. Barbecues afterwards as well. Next, Monday night big book study. Monday night we have a big book study in the back room here, which is also called the multi-purpose room. It's a awesome meeting, starts at 7 p.m. If you're interested in a big book study, please come on Monday night at 7 o'clock. You come in the same way you came in tonight and just come through the sanctuary and into the back there, and you'll see a group of people that are gathering to learn more about the big book and have a great discussion. So that's at 7 p.m. on Monday nights. Sobriety anniversaries every month. For those of you maybe that are new or haven't experienced that yet, we do celebrate monthly sobriety. So in other words, if you have a sobriety anniversary that you celebrate during the month of September, so it could be 1 year, could be 7 years, whatever it is, we would love for you to share and be recognized. In order to do that, you have to sign up in the foyer right outside the doors there. There's a clipboard. Put your name down. The information will show up right there, and I'll be in contact with you. Those anniversaries are held on the last Tuesday night of each month. So we're about halfway through the month, so please sign up. I think we've only got a couple so far, so please do that if you would. I've also been asked to say that if you were baptized a few weeks ago out in the parking lot and you have not received your T-shirt yet, you get a T-shirt when you get baptized. How awesome is that? If you haven't got your T-shirt, they'll be downstairs at the bottom of the steps where you came in after the teaching tonight. I believe Olivia is going to be down there with those T-shirts, so you can pick them up there. A couple more things. Say Sunday. Church. 10 o'clock. 6:30. I'm wrong. Nobody caught me. 10:30 in the morning and 6 p.m. I've only been here for how long? I don't know. Sunday church, 10:30 and 6 p.m. 2 services. We'd love to see you. If you don't already come, we'd love to see you come out. So please consider that. Last but not least, as we get ready to welcome Pastor Scott up to the microphone tonight, we will be passing the basket during this short video that we'll be looking at. This is an opportunity for you to give what is on your heart, give what you can to give back to this ministry, and also give back to the church where we're able to hold this meeting every single week for many, many, many years. So if it's on your heart, we'd certainly appreciate you being able to give. And then those things will be coming around here shortly. Once the video's over, you'll hear from Pastor Scott. And I wasn't here last week, but I did tune in and I did hear his teaching. He did an amazing job. Let's give him a hand. For those of you that are new here and don't know, Pastor Scott is our recovery coach, our recovery pastor. He has been a part of Serenity for many, many years, 13, 14 years. I've known and had the pleasure of knowing him for just as long as that. And I know how awesome of an individual he is and how dedicated he is. He's also the director at the Metro Hope New Hope Center, Metro Hope Ministries New Hope Center, and runs that show down there, which is not an easy job. So grateful for you, Pastor. Thank you for stepping up again today. And let's really make him feel welcome tonight. So in the meantime, let's give him a hand. Let's give him a hand. So please prepare to give whatever is on your heart as we watch this video.
Good evening. I don't really need to speak. If you guys are watching that video, that's it right there. There's no reason to settle. Most of us in this room have been settling our whole lives for less than we deserve, less than we were created for. It makes me sad when I see someone in recovery, and I use in recovery that term lightly, that is settling. Last week we talked about the wilderness and your cry. The cry, Lord, deliver me from this bondage. And he takes you out. He hears your cry. Not only does he hear it, he does something about it. And he brings you into the wilderness. Now, is the wilderness perfect? No. You eat the same thing every day. You drink the same thing. It's not perfect. A lot of our defects of character come out. And we either work on those defects or we don't. Are you going to work on those defects? If you're working the 12 steps, trust me, your defects of character are going to come out. Don't be shocked by this. Your sponsor's not shocked by this. No one is shocked by this. Let it happen. Let it happen. Part of the reason that your sponsor is in your life is because he knows how to handle it when it does. And because, hopefully, you know that he cares about you and loves you, you'll be able to receive this constructive criticism and keep moving forward instead of pouting. I'm a great pouter. I was. You don't know. I'm suffering. Before we get started, I'm going to tell you a little bit about God's economy. In this economy, he wants to deposit himself into you. Do you hear that? His desire is to give himself to you. And when you receive that, something organic starts to happen in you. You start to get rearranged. Another thing your sponsor's there for, because when you're in that process of getting rearranged, dude, it's uncomfortable. I don't want to be rearranged, I'm fine. Can you believe, I'll tell you, this was me thinking I'm fine. Shooting speedballs every day, looking in the mirror at myself, going, man, I look great while I'm eating prenatal vitamins because I think they're better for me than normal vitamins because I don't eat. I'm a genius. I'm telling you, dude, we are geniuses. Something organic starts to happen in you. You start to get reworked inwardly. Eventually, as God starts to fill you, we start to get saturated. Starts to come in and what started on the inside starts to bubble out. And people notice. You start to become attractive to other people. They don't cross the street when they see you coming. The whole goal is this. In God's economy, he desires for you to receive him and accept him in, for this organic process to start and for it to bubble out. And I don't want to say infect, but affect other people in a positive way. It draws other people to him through you. Each and every one in this room. Now, I was the person that sat in this very room shaking my head going, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and this God guy, whatever. All right. I hope you live long enough to understand what you're thinking. Because the fact that I'm alive after I was thinking that is God's grace and mercy. I'm not going to play around with you today. Last week, we laughed a lot, which we're still going to laugh because we can all say it. I'm funny. And not ha-ha funny, just kind of like, oh my gosh, did he just do that? This is a spiritual process. And yes, for the people that think the 12 steps are FUBAR, are you kidding me? That's part of the spiritual process. It's worded in such a way that we're a little off guard. We're not so, oh my gosh, it's the Bible. But you need to come to a spot where you stop crying for relief and start crying for deliverance. Step 3 says this. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand him. Do you know what you are saying? If you did know, if the majority of the people in this room, including myself, knew what we were saying when we first said that, we wouldn't have had to do it like a dozen times. Instead of being 13 years free, I would have been 26 years, maybe. Who knows? What you are saying is this, that I recognize you as the source. I'm no longer the source. My girlfriend's no longer the source. My job's no longer the source. The pizza's no longer the source. Whatever it is, my kids, how you all think I do tonight is no longer, you are no longer my source. He's the source. And until we get to that point as individuals in our brains, you can do step 3 a million times. You're still gonna fumble and bumble and find other idols to replace him with. That's the majority of our problem. Our problem in here. In these rooms, that's the majority of all of our problem is that. We look for the source out here instead of right there. And I'm speaking about me. I was a pro at doing that. Jesus, I love you. Thanks for the job. I can't go to church because I got to work. I can't make it to the meeting because I get off, at 4:30 and I live across the street and God forbid I don't shower and change my clothes before I, come to the meeting. Just in case she's the one is here. I just can't help it. Sometimes this comes out. We give him our will. We give him our lives. We recognize that he's the source, that he is the living water. Jeremiah 2:13 explains it. It paints a perfect picture of a twisted soul. I might have been a twisted soul when I was out there and we were out there in our stuff, but our mind was made up. Like there was no battle between good and evil. There was no contemplation. Should I go to the casino? Should I not? Should I drink? Should I not? There was no argue. I didn't argue with myself. I was thoroughly on his team. For those who are wondering about on his team, who I'm talking about the enemy. Why do you think he wants to hold you all captive? He wants to hold you captive because he's afraid of you. If he wasn't afraid of you, there'd be... Do you try to control anything you're not afraid of? Ask yourself that question and think about it. I'll tell you the answer ahead of time, no. If you're not afraid of something, you're not going to try to control it. There's no need to. Jeremiah 2:13 says this, for my people have committed 2 evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and have dug their own cisterns. What's a cistern? Well, in those days, it was a big hole where they collected the water. But it's broken. He is the fountain of living water. The reason we dig our own cisterns to collect our own stuff from our own sources, whatever we think those are, is because, ask yourself these 2 questions. And these are the 2 questions that once you answer, you'll be able to do step 3. Do I trust him? Will he meet all my needs? Now let's go back to last Tuesday. I'm in Egypt. I'm in bondage in my addiction. I cry out to him, not just to relieve my circumstances, but to deliver me from where I'm at. He does this. Can you trust him? Yes. But he delivered you to treatment. Well, it's not behind the trash can at a Domino's, is it? You know what I mean? It's better than where you were. It might not be where you want to be yet, but it's better than where you were. Can you trust him? One guy. Absolutely, you can trust him. Will he meet all your needs? Well, in the wilderness, treatment wasn't the best food, was it? I mean, I can admit, dude, I had pretty good food at treatment, but it wasn't like, Murray's or something. It wasn't anything like that. But I wasn't thirsty and I wasn't hungry. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is half measures avail us nothing. You can't be half in and half out. If you're half in and half out, you haven't done step 3 and you're not ready for it. You have got to come to that place, that position. I know it's scary. I know it's scary. I didn't know what I was giving my life up for. I didn't. But I trusted him. I trusted the people the Lord put in my life. And if they said, do it, it's worth it, I'm going to hold their hand, I'm going to be sweating like crazy, and I'm going to go, okay, I'll do it. And look what the Lord has done. Half measures avail us nothing. What else does it say? We stood at the turning point, crying out for his protection and his care. Oh, taste and see. Oh, taste and see that I am good. The next 3 verses, 1 Corinthians 10:14, John 5:21, and Jonah 2:8, all tell us the same thing: flee. Run from those things. Don't worry about it, just get away from it. If it's a distraction, move seats. Sit in the front. Don't go back to your old job if you know that it's not good for you. A lot of us make that mistake, right? We go back to our old jobs. I used to run a catering business. That's a stupid job to keep when you're an alcoholic. Anybody in the food service industry knows what I'm talking about. That industry is awesome, but it's a disaster for people in recovery. It's difficult. It's everywhere you turn. The truth of the matter is, and all of us know, I think we all know this already, but yet we half measure it. We say we know. Oh, I know. I know that those things won't quench my thirst. They won't satisfy me. I know that, but we do it anyway. In secret, by the way. It's not like you just do it out in the open. You know. If you have to do it in secret, there's your first thing right there. They can't find out. If any of those things go through your brain, it's a pretty good indicator that you probably shouldn't do it, right? That it isn't good for you. Our idols will never quench our thirst. They'll never satisfy us. As long as you place self-sufficiency in front of him, true reliance on God is absolutely impossible. You cannot put anything in front of him, and we all do it. I do it. I don't know if I do it daily, but I do it weekly for sure. Sometimes I don't even think about it. It's just, normally I don't think about it. It's just all of a sudden it happens. A big one is work. The next one would be my family. 2 really good things. The Lord wants us to do those things. It's healthy to do those things. But unfortunately, they can get in front of him. And you might not even mean to. But it happens. What do you do when that does happen? Put the brakes on? or just keep going. Things are going well, I'm fine, and all of a sudden things aren't fine, and you're like, ugh. And you look back and you're way ahead of him. And then your prayer, your desperateness starts to turn to, relieve me of my circumstance that I've gotten myself in because I've wandered too far away. That's what happens, dude. I have boxes and boxes of journals. They all say the same thing. Wandered too far away, things got out of control, and now I have to lean on you, but I don't want to because I know better in the first place. It's not that difficult. In John 4:13, Jesus answered, everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. What's this water? Everything we've been talking about. Anything outside of him is this water. It will not quench your thirst. But whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst again. The water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. That sounds terrible. That's terrible. In that verse, in those two verses right there, you have three promises. One's not such a good promise. And basically what he's saying is the world will never fill you. You can eat and drink as much of the world you want. And I'm not just talking about drugs and alcohol, I'm talking about success. Your name on the business card, what you drive, where you live, what you wear. Whatever. You can eat and drink as much from this world as you can possibly. You'll never be full. It'll never be enough. You think that will satisfy you, and then it does for like a couple hours or a week, and then it's the next thing, and it's the next thing, and it's the next thing. Its appetite is insatiable. And at the end of the day, it leaves you cashed. Leaves you empty. It leaves you broken. You hear those stories. I mean, you've heard people up here before going, yeah, and I had the Rolex watch, and I had the big house, and the hot wife, and all this stuff, but they're the most emptiest shells on the planet. Shallow, like you've stepped in puddles deeper than them. Why is that? Because the things that are their source are not everlasting. They don't fill them up. And I know if any of you are like me, you're going to try to fill yourself up like that. I'm just trying to help you come to the end of that quick. But I, like you, I heard the same thing dozens of times, and it didn't persuade me. I had to learn for myself. So, I hope you don't die. I hope you don't die, because that's what happens. We die. No one has to, and it's not because Narcan got invented either. No one has to die in this room. There are no unfortunates. If you're the unfortunate, take your own responsibility There's no unfortunates in this room. If you do die, it's by your own hand. Because he is like, dude, he has put everyone around you just like this. Come on. Come on. And you're choosing to not grab a hold. It's a choice. Just like choosing him, just like step 3. Made a decision. I like to know what decisions I'm making. And a lot of times it turns out that I really didn't know, even though I thought I did. The second promise in John 4:13-14 is this. In him you will never thirst again. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Now, I don't even fathom that. Maybe he just means for the next couple of months or the years or whatever. I can't fathom forever. But what I do know and what I can fathom is not being thirsty. And yes, I'm talking about, like, I'm thirsty right now. I really could use a drink of water. Don't bring one up here, I'm just saying. But I'm also talking about that thirst in your soul. That bottomless pit that can never be filled. You can never put enough stuff in it that will fill you. It's both of those. The water is symbolic for, yes, you'll never be thirsty again because you'll have, what do we say about the promised land? It's just flowing. And it's got all the figs and the nuts and the berries and all the good stuff, the really good stuff. It's not eating ramen every day and drinking out of a hamster thingy, like last week when we were talking about water. Because he says it's trickling out of a rock. In the promised land, it is flowing. Flowing. Your refrigerator is full. So full that you're like, man, I gotta have some people over. Because it's gonna go bad. I gotta have, I don't even like people, but now I have all this stuff, so I gotta share it, and I wanna do that, so come on over. Anyway, I don't know where that was going, but the third promise is this: it will become in them a spring of water. You'll get so full, exactly, now I know where I was going with what I just said because of this. You will become so full, both spiritually and in the world, in the natural, that it starts to just come out of you. You're overflowing. That sounds good, right? Sounds real good. I remember when I had just read this part, and it was today, and I walk into the kitchen and I open up the fridge, and man, it's overflowing. Like, what do I want to eat? And then I became super thankful and grateful. Because I remember when I didn't have those choices. First, I was told what we were going to have, but before that, it was, if I'm going to eat, you guys have to throw it away, and then I have to be lucky enough to find it before somebody else does. Psalms 107:9. For he satisfies, where was I? Yeah. For he satisfies the thirsty and fills the hungry with good things. That's the answer to your questions in step 3. Do I trust him? Will he meet all my needs? Put your trust in him and he will meet all your needs. And trust me, the needs you thought you needed to be met, that you needed met, he goes, he meets them better than you could possibly ever think about. And I have a large imagination. Like I think it doesn't know any bounds. He goes beyond that. Better, it doesn't even, the promised land, it is, there's no words in the human dictionary or human vocabulary to describe how good it is. You can't picture it in your mind, but it takes trust. He satisfies the longing of your soul, that bottomless pit. The problem we have sometimes is because we're not in bondage anymore, we're in the wilderness. We don't realize it's so different than the bondage we were in, we forget that we're still perishing. You weren't meant to live in the wilderness. That is like, it's better than where you were, but you're still perishing because that's not where you are meant to be. And it's not because the Lord keeps us in the wilderness. We keep ourselves in the wilderness. What did I say gets exposed in the wilderness? Our defects of character, our lack of trust. our self-sufficiency, our arrogance, our pride, all of those things get exposed. But in the wilderness, what else does the Lord do? He surrounds us with like-minded people. He surrounds us with a great cloud of witnesses. This room. Sponsors, mentors, pastors. He puts people in our life to love us and care for us, even though we can't do it for ourselves, and lead us. There's nothing in this world that can accomplish what he can accomplish with us and through us. But in the wilderness, we have a choice. Are we going to cooperate with him? Because what did we talk about last week? What rises up in us? Fear. I don't know. We all have it. Any question you have, I didn't know about this God thing. I was full of fear. I had to see it, touch it. As doubting Thomas, as Pastor Terry said on Monday or Sunday. So why not? Has your old self, your old life rewarded you so well that you would rather live in it? Living in the wilderness is like living in both sides of the fence. It's kind of still sick while you're kind of well. It's not fun. It feels a little better, but there's still a lot of work going on. Are you going to quit? That's another thing. Dude, quitting. We quit because we're afraid. I want to quit. Not all the time, a lot less than I used to, but still, there are days when I'm like, oh, dude, this just... And in myself, that's absolutely the truth. Everyone in here will quit. The only way we can't quit is because when he brings us to something, he's going to give us the strength and the courage to walk through it. Romans 8, 12 through 16. Do you not see that we do not owe this old life one red cent? If you don't see it, you won't make it. That's harsh. If you still think you owe something to your old life, you're not going to make it. Your mind's not made up. You're half measuring. And half measures don't cut it. That's wilderness mentality, half measures. And we already talked about it. I already told you, you weren't made to live in the wilderness. It's a place, it's a moment in time, it's a season, it's a place you're at in your life for a while. It's where the construction happens. Now, construction still happens in the promised land, trust me, but it's not the same. We might choose to go back into the wilderness, but that's a whole nother message. We'll talk about that in a month or so. Do you not see that you or that we do not owe this old life one red cent? There's nothing in it for us, nothing at all. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? You don't have to answer, but you better believe it. Because if you don't, I would tell you the outcome, but you already know. That's why it took 7 treatments and a lot of incarcerations. Because I didn't believe it. I thought this, they don't know what they're talking about. 400 people are wrong. I'm right. They just haven't tried it this way. They don't understand. No, it turns out I didn't understand. God's Spirit beckons. I could hear him like they have the speakers turned up all the way in here in my head, crying out for you. I don't know who you are in here, but he's crying out for you. Like a mother looking for her son or daughter in Mall of America, and they haven't seen him in like 15 seconds. And he's wandered off into some weird, obscure changing room. You know what I mean? Everybody got lost in the department store when they were little? Oh. I think when I got spanked, I grew up when you were allowed to get spanked. Now it's, now it's abuse or something. But I got lost in Dayton's downtown, or I wandered away. I wasn't lost, but my mom said I was lost. I wandered away, playing hide and go seek in the clothes because it was like this high. And all of a sudden, security guards and people, I didn't know they're security guards. These people are like, oh, you got to come with us, and all this. And my mother was distraught. I'm like, what? Now, I paint that picture. We're talking about a mother. I'm talking about like God. He's beckoning for you. He desires you. He pursues you. He asks you questions like, hey, Mike, are you ready to get honest with me? You ready to talk to me? And he doesn't stop. That's why we have to get higher and higher and higher and use more and more and more. It's because if we don't do that, the noise gets louder and louder and louder. Especially if you've been to a faith-based treatment and relapse. Who's done that before? Teen Challenge? That sucked, didn't it? I mean, I used to be able to relapse from a regular treatment all day. I go to a treatment where they talk about God and you hear his truths and stuff, and then I choose to relapse. Oh. That was the worst, best decision I ever made, dude. I could never get high peacefully again, ever. The loudest clap is when we're talking about drugs and treatment and relapsing. I love that. That's awesome. He's inviting you to this resurrection life, you guys. Can you imagine? I mean, the life he's inviting, he wants you to bury this life where you didn't know who you were or whose you were. You know what I mean? Whose you were depended on who you owed money to. And you had no idea who you were because you were whatever you needed to be to get that money that day. You know what I mean? If you're like me, you're like 6 different people at the same time. And it didn't even stress us out, We just switched just like that. You had to survive. You had to be good at it. You had to be expert at that. He's inviting you to a life where you know who you are and whose you are. And man, you want to see security. When you know who you are and whose you are, it's like security you've never felt in your life. Not because you're so self-sufficient, but because you're sufficient in him. You're finding your sufficiency in him. You're finding your courage in him. You're everything about you. This is where it's that overflow, You're so full, it just out to everybody. Now, does that mean you're on the street corner blabbling, and burning a lake of fire or come to Jesus? No, not necessarily. It's never happened to me, I'm just saying. I don't think that'll happen, but you never know. I'm glad it wasn't me, Lord. Psalms 34:8. And let me do this, actually. This isn't in your notes. Psalms 139, I think, is more accurate. And it gives a great depiction of us. Actually, Adam and Eve are a great depiction of our response to the Lord for sure, because I'll tell you that in a second. But Psalms 139, I believe, says this: And that's 20, I'll do 23 and 24. It says, search me, O God, and know my heart, and know if there's any anxious way in me, anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. There's a lot of things going on in just those 2 verses that will show you the God that I'm talking about's heart for you. He doesn't give up on you. He doesn't give up on you. In this verse, he is pursuing you like nobody's business. Remember I said beckoning a little bit ago? He is pursuing you. He's assisting you. And not only that, he's cleansing you. But this is how I respond to him. And I think I don't respond to him like this anymore very often, but I still do. I respond like Adam and Eve responded when they got busted. They hid. All right, I'll break it down so we all can understand. Pretend your house got raided, all right? The first thing you're gonna do is hide. Whether it be inside, outside, in a different country, whatever, you're gonna hide. Then when you figure out that doesn't work, you're gonna start blaming. I know we're all trustworthy in here, we're gonna do our time, and we're not gonna tell anybody. Garbage. 99.999% are gonna just, it was everybody else. I'm just letting you know, if you think you're the one that isn't gonna blab, everyone I know that thought they were the one, blabbed. So what else do? We hide. Adam and Eve did that when they got busted. Then they blamed. And then when that didn't work, what did they do? They started to accuse. Yeah? We all live in Minnesota, don't we? That passive aggressiveness. She did it, but you gave her to me. That's passive aggressive right there. I'm not gonna blame you face to face, God, I'm gonna blame her, but the reason I have her is because of you. That's what we do. That's what we do. Now we'll get to Psalms 34:8. This is the question. Taste and see, O Lord. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. That is an invitation. We've talked about pursuing, we've talked about beckoning, we've talked about what to avoid, how to avoid it, what happens if we don't. And it's not like if it might happen, it's a 100% guarantee it's gonna happen. We're working with absolutes here, not maybes, kind ofs, and should haves, and would haves, and I guesses. His promises, 100% guarantee. Will he feel you? Absolutely, 100%. Will he hear you? 100%. Are you ready for what he does when he does hear you? Yeah? We don't know what we're at. Lord, deliver me from my bondage. I think he's gonna deliver me, to Murray's and tell me, your record's expunged, and not only that, here's an allowance until you get on your feet. Do all this sorts of stuff. No, he delivers me to New Hope Center. Or Salvation Army. Not even not even the Hilton of treatments. He delivers me to, they are the Hilton of treatments. They just, not the accommodations. Delivers me to New Hope Center, or Salvation Army. Places the state has to pay for, the taxpayers have to pay for me to be there. Then I complain about not getting my $100 a month, even though I've never paid taxes in my life. Ever. Well, no, I haven't. Well, I do now, but back then. Can you see the gall right there? Where's my money? Anyway. But do you run to him? He's inviting you to his table. Do you run to him? He's pursuing you. This is more than an invitation, you guys. This is more than thinking about it. It's actually drinking. It's more than talking about it. It's actually tasting. The more you taste, the more you drink. The more we experience him, the more satisfied we are in him. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? Be satisfied? And it's not a satisfaction you know about or you've experienced in your past. It's a complete satisfaction. Sin and the power of the world are broken because we are full. He's inviting you to taste his conviction, to take part in his forgiveness, to experience his mercy and experience his love and his passion for us. Why? What did I go back? We'll go back to the beginning. Yes, he loves us, but we're talking about God's economy here. He wants, he desires to deposit himself in you. Like you can't even imagine desire. He just wants to so bad, but he can't force himself. He won't. That's not relationship. God's economy is to dispense himself unto us, to produce increase. Am I talking about prosperity? Yeah, I'm talking about prosperity in the kingdom. I'm not talking about your wallet getting fatter. That may happen, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more believers. Not people that are just adhering to some law. I'm talking about people that are oozing, overflowing, full of him. And it comes out in how you talk and how you walk and what you say and what you do, what kind of employee you are, what kind of husband or wife you are, how kind of father you are. And you will finally be walking and living the life you were meant to live in the first place. But that's the process we all have to go to. And it's worth it, and it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to not know and guess and wonder and want to quit. Don't quit. He desires you. If you feel like quitting, think about the Lord desiring you. You won't quit. You won't quit. Anyhow, thank you for, holy smokes, it's only 7:38. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, that's early. Well, I said what the Lord told me to say. So, thank you for your being attentive and bearing with me and listening and all of that sort of good stuff. I appreciate you all.